The morning sun cast long shadows across the Coronado Beach training grounds as SEAL Team 7 prepared for what they assumed would be another routine marksmanship evaluation. Master Chief Rodriguez wiped the sweat from his forehead, watching his men set up their equipment with the practiced efficiency that comes from years of training together. These weren't rookies fresh out of BUD/S training. These were seasoned operators, men who had seen action in Iraq, Afghanistan, and places that didn't officially exist on any mission reports. "Gentlemen, today we're testing our precision shooting skills," Rodriguez announced, his voice carrying across the sandy expanse. "Long-range targets, variable wind conditions, and limited ammunition. Each of you gets 10 rounds to prove you belong on this team." The SEALs nodded, checking their rifles with a methodical attention to detail that separated professionals from amateurs. Staff Sergeant Mike Torres, known throughout the teams for his exceptional marksmanship, adjusted his scope and settled into position. His teammates respected his shooting abilities, and Torres had earned that respect through consistent performance under pressure. 800 meters, called out the range officer. Wind from the southwest at 12 knots. Targets are up. One by one, the SEALs took their turns. Each shot was analyzed, measured, and recorded. Torres stepped up to the firing line, his breathing controlled and steady. His first shot hit center mass. His second shot grouped within inches of the first. By his fifth shot, he had established a pattern that would make any sniper instructor proud. "Torres is on fire today," whispered Petty Officer Collins to his teammate. "Look at that grouping." The other SEALs gathered around the spotting scope, watching their colleague demonstrate why he held the team record for accuracy. Shot after shot landed within the kill zone, each round placed with surgical precision. When Torres finished his string of 10 shots, the range fell silent as they waited for the target to be retrieved. 9 out of 10 in the X-ring, announced the range officer. "Outstanding shooting, Staff Sergeant." The team erupted in congratulations and good-natured ribbing. Torres had just set a new standard for their unit, and everyone knew it would be a long time before anyone matched that performance. Master Chief Rodriguez made notes on his clipboard, already planning how to incorporate Torres into upcoming high-priority missions that required exceptional marksmanship skills. As the team prepared to pack up their equipment, a figure approached from the administrative building. She walked with purpose, carrying a rifle case and wearing civilian clothes that seemed out of place among the military personnel. The SEALs noticed her immediately, their conversation dying down as curiosity took over. "Who's the civilian?" asked Collins, squinting against the afternoon sun. Master Chief Rodriguez checked his schedule, flipping through pages of training notes and personnel assignments. He found what he was looking for and looked up with a puzzled expression. "Says here we have a Department of Defense contractor coming in for equipment evaluation," he read from his notes. "Name is Lena Gray. Supposed to test some new rifle modifications." The woman approached their group with confident strides, extending her hand to Rodriguez when she reached the firing line. Her grip was firm, eye contact direct and unwavering. "Master Chief Rodriguez, I'm Lena Gray from Advanced Weapons Systems. I understand you have some time available for equipment testing." Rodriguez studied her for a moment. Lena appeared to be in her early 30s, with shoulder-length brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her clothes were functional rather than fashionable, and she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone comfortable in military environments. Still, she looked more like she belonged in an engineering office than on a weapons range with special operations personnel. "Ms. Gray, we just finished our scheduled training. What exactly are you looking to test?" Lena set down her rifle case and opened it with practiced movements. Inside lay a custom rifle that immediately caught the attention of every SEAL present. The weapon was clearly built for precision shooting, with modifications and attachments that spoke of serious engineering and considerable expense. "We've developed some improvements to long-range accuracy systems," she explained, lifting the rifle from its case. "The department wants field testing with experienced shooters before considering procurement." Torres stepped forward, his interest piqued by the sophisticated weapon. "What kind of improvements are we talking about?" "Enhanced barrel harmonics, upgraded trigger system, and a new scope mounting system that reduces vibration transfer," Lena replied, her technical knowledge evident in her explanation. The combination should improve accuracy at extended ranges. The SEALs exchanged glances. This was the kind of gear they dreamed about having in the field, where the difference between a good shot and a perfect shot could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Would you like one of our shooters to test it for you? Rodriguez offered. Torres here just set a new team record. He could give you professional feedback on the system. Lena smiled politely, but shook her head. Actually, I prefer to conduct the initial testing myself. It helps me understand exactly how the modifications perform before getting external input. Collins laughed, not unkindly, but with the casual dismissiveness of someone who had spent years around elite shooters. No offense, ma'am, but this isn't exactly a hunting range. These targets are set up for special operations training standards. 800 meters, variable wind, small targets, added Torres. It takes years of training to shoot accurately under these conditions. Lena nodded politely, showing no sign of offense at their skepticism. I understand your concerns. Would it be possible to use the same target setup your team was using? That way you can directly compare the equipment performance. Rodriguez considered the request. His orders were to provide reasonable support for equipment testing, and watching a civilian contractor struggle with their training course might provide some entertainment for his men after their successful range session. 800 meters, same targets we were using, he agreed. You'll have 10 rounds to work with. Lena thanked him and began preparing her equipment. The SEALs watched with professional interest as she assembled her gear, noting her familiarity with the rifle and accessories. She moved with economy of motion, checking each component methodically before moving to the next. She definitely knows her way around a rifle, Torres observed quietly to Collins. But knowing the hardware and being able to use it are two different things. The range officer called out the same conditions they had faced earlier. 800 meters, wind from southwest at 12 knots. Target is up. Lena settled into a prone shooting position with fluid movements that immediately caught the attention of the watching SEALs. Her body alignment was textbook perfect, her grip and stance showing training that went far beyond casual familiarity with firearms. Maybe she's not as green as we thought, Collins murmured to Torres. Lena controlled her breathing, settling into the natural respiratory pause that experienced shooters use for maximum accuracy. The SEALs fell silent, their casual chatter dying away as they recognized the professional preparation they were witnessing. Through the spotting scopes, they watched as Lena made minute adjustments to her scope settings, compensating for the wind and distance with the practiced efficiency of someone who had done this many times before. Her movements were deliberate but unhurried, showing the patience that separates good shooters from great ones. The first shot broke with a crisp sound that spoke of a perfectly tuned trigger system. Through the spotting scope, the range officer immediately called out, "Hit, center mass." Torres raised his eyebrows, but said nothing. One good shot could be luck, especially for someone with obvious training. The real test would be consistency. Lena's second shot followed 30 seconds later. "Hit, X-ring," called the spotter. Now the SEALs were paying serious attention. 2 precision shots in a row suggested skill rather than chance. They gathered around the spotting scopes, watching as Lena prepared for her third shot. Shot 3 landed in the X-ring. Shot 4 grouped within inches of the previous rounds. By the 5th shot, the SEALs had stopped their casual conversation entirely, focusing instead on what they were witnessing through the scopes. "Who is this woman?" whispered Collins, watching Lena make slight adjustments between shots with the smooth confidence of a seasoned competitor. Rodriguez was thinking the same thing. His years of experience with special operations personnel had taught him to recognize exceptional talent, and what he was seeing through the spotting scope was exceptional by any standard. Shot 6 landed in the X-ring. Shot 7 grouped with mathematical precision. With each successive round, Lena was building a target that would impress shooters at any level, from recreational enthusiasts to Olympic competitors. "She's shooting better than Torres did," Collins said quietly, his voice carrying a note of disbelief. Torres nodded, his competitive spirit warring with professional admiration for what he was witnessing. "And she's doing it with equipment she supposedly just developed. Either that gear is revolutionary, or she's been sandbagging her abilities." Shot 8 continued the pattern. Shot 9 maintained the incredible grouping. As Lena prepared for her final shot, the entire SEAL team stood in silence, watching a performance that challenged everything they thought they knew about marksmanship abilities. The 10th shot broke clean, and the range officer's voice carried across the sand with unmistakable surprise. Hit X-ring. 10 out of 10 in the kill zone. But even that announcement didn't capture the full extent of what Lena had accomplished. When the target was retrieved and examined, the grouping told a story that left the experienced SEALs speechless. All 10 shots could be covered by a silver dollar. At 800 meters in variable wind conditions, using supposedly new equipment, Lena Gray had just delivered the most precise shooting demonstration any of them had ever witnessed. Master Chief Rodriguez examined the target with the methodical attention of someone who understood exactly what such performance represented. In his 20 years of military service, working with snipers, special operations teams, and competition shooters, he had never seen anything quite like what this civilian contractor had just demonstrated. "Ms. Gray," he said finally, his voice carrying new respect, "I think we need to talk." The conference room in Building 47 had seen countless briefings, debriefings, and classified discussions over the years. Its walls were lined with commendations, unit photos, and maps marked with locations that existed only in the memories of the men who had served there. Today, however, the room felt different as Master Chief Rodriguez sat across from Lena Gray, trying to understand exactly what he had witnessed on the range. "Coffee," Rodriguez offered, gesturing toward a pot that had been brewing since early morning. Lena accepted gratefully, wrapping her hands around the warm mug as she settled into the metal chair. Outside the window, the Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly toward the horizon, its surface reflecting the late afternoon sun in thousands of dancing points of light. "Ms. Gray, I've been working with special operations personnel for over 2 decades, Rodriguez began, his tone professional but curious. "What I saw on that range today isn't something you learn in weekend shooting courses or civilian training programs. Where did you acquire those skills?" Lena took a sip of coffee before responding, choosing her words carefully. "I've had extensive training over the years. Military background, competitive shooting, specialized instruction. The usual progression for someone in my field." "Military background?" Rodriguez leaned forward, his interest sharpening. "Which branch?" "Army," Lena replied. "Military intelligence, primarily. Spent most of my time behind a desk, analyzing satellite imagery and intercepted communications. Not exactly the kind of work that requires advanced marksmanship skills." Rodriguez studied her face, reading the subtle tells that came from years of interviewing personnel with classified backgrounds. Something in Lena's answer didn't quite align with the demonstration he had witnessed earlier. "Military intelligence," he repeated slowly, "and that led to work with advanced weapons systems. After my discharge, I went back to school for engineering. Advanced degrees in mechanical engineering and ballistics. The defense contractor work was a natural progression, combining my technical background with my military experience." The explanation sounded reasonable, but Rodriguez had spent too many years around people with hidden histories to accept surface answers without deeper investigation. The shooting demonstration had revealed capabilities that went far beyond what any civilian contractor should possess, regardless of their educational background. A knock on the door interrupted their conversation. Staff Sergeant Torres entered, carrying a laptop and a file folder thick with documentation. "Master Chief, you asked me to run a background check on our visitor," Torres said, setting the materials on the table. "I found some interesting information." Rodriguez nodded for Torres to proceed. Lena remained calm, showing no signs of anxiety about whatever information had been uncovered. Lena Gray, 32 years old, born in Montana. Parents were both teachers, no military background in the family. Torres began, reading from his notes. Enlisted in the Army at 18, served 6 years active duty with an honorable discharge. Most of her service record is routine, but there are some gaps. "What kind of gaps?" Rodriguez asked. "Extended TDY assignments with no specific unit designations. Training courses that aren't listed in the standard military education databases. And her discharge paperwork shows she left as a staff sergeant, but her initial assignments were as a private first class. That's a fast promotion track for someone in military intelligence." Lena listened to the recitation of her service record without comment, her expression revealing nothing about the accuracy or completeness of the information being discussed. "There's more," Torres continued. "After her discharge, she did attend engineering school, like she said. MIT, full scholarship, graduated summa cum laude with advanced degrees in mechanical engineering and applied physics. But here's where it gets interesting." Torres opened his laptop and turned the screen so Rodriguez could see the information displayed. "She's been working for advanced weapons systems for 8 years, but most of her projects are classified at levels that require special clearances. The kind of clearances that usually require more than just an engineering background." Rodriguez examined the screen, noting the gaps and classifications that suggested a history more complex than Lena had initially revealed. "Ms. Gray," he said finally, "I appreciate your honesty about your background, but I think there might be more to your story than you're sharing. The demonstration on the range today showed skills that go well beyond civilian training or standard military experience." Lena set down her coffee mug and met Rodriguez's gaze directly. "Master Chief, I understand your curiosity. What would you like to know? Let's start with what you learned to shoot like that," Rodriguez said simply. Lena was quiet for a moment, as if weighing how much to reveal. "During my time in the Army, I was selected for some additional training programs. Specialized courses that aren't widely publicized. The shooting skills were part of that training." "What kind of specialized training?" Torres asked. "Reconnaissance and surveillance operations," Lena replied. "Deep cover assignments that required extended periods in hostile territory without backup or support. The marksmanship training was essential for both defensive purposes and mission completion." Rodriguez felt pieces of a puzzle beginning to align. "You were with Special Operations?" "Not officially," Lena said carefully. "I was attached to various units on a temporary basis, providing intelligence support and conducting specialized reconnaissance missions. The work required skills that aren't taught in standard military intelligence training." "And after your discharge, you went into defense contracting," Rodriguez said, his understanding of her background becoming clearer. "The transition was natural. My technical education combined with my field experience made me valuable for developing and testing advanced weapon systems. Most of my work involves designing equipment that will be used by people like your team." Torres looked up from his laptop, where he had been researching additional information during their conversation. "Master Chief, I'm finding references to some of the projects Ms. Gray has worked on. High-level stuff, cutting-edge technology for special operations units." Rodriguez nodded, his picture of Lena Gray becoming more complete. "So when you said you prefer to test your own equipment, you weren't just being cautious. You were conducting a real-world evaluation using skills that match the end users." "Exactly," Lena confirmed. "I can design the most sophisticated rifle system in the world, but if I can't use it effectively under field conditions, how can I expect special operations personnel to rely on it in life-or-death situations?" The conversation was interrupted by another knock on the door. Master Chief Rodriguez called for entry, and a young petty officer stepped into the room with a message folder. "Sir, you have a priority communication from SOCOM headquarters. They're requesting an immediate update on today's weapons testing." Rodriguez took the folder and quickly scanned the contents, his expression growing serious as he read. "Ms. Gray, it seems someone at Special Operations Command has been monitoring your testing activities. They're very interested in both the equipment performance and the person conducting the tests." Lena showed no surprise at this development. "SOCOM has been tracking several of my projects. The equipment I tested today is destined for a classified program that begins deployment next month." "What kind of program?" Torres asked. "Counterterrorism operations in Southeast Asia," Lena replied. "High-value target elimination missions that require precision shooting under extreme conditions. The teams conducting these missions need equipment that performs flawlessly, and they need to know that the equipment has been tested by someone who understands their operational requirements." Rodriguez read further into the message from SOCOM headquarters, finding information that put Lena's presence on his range into an entirely different context. "According to this communication, you're not just testing equipment," he said, looking up at Lena. "You're evaluating whether our team might be suitable for assignment to the Southeast Asia program." Lena nodded, her professional demeanor shifting slightly to reveal the serious nature of her actual mission. The rifle testing was secondary, Master Chief. I was sent here to observe your team's capabilities and assess their readiness for a highly classified assignment that begins in 6 weeks. The room fell silent as the implications of this revelation settled over the 3 military personnel. What they had assumed was a routine equipment demonstration had actually been an evaluation of their unit by someone with the authority to recommend them for high-priority special operations missions. "And what's your assessment?" Rodriguez asked, his tone reflecting both curiosity and professional concern. "Your team demonstrated exceptional technical proficiency today," Lena replied. Staff Sergeant Torres in particular showed the kind of precision shooting skills that would be valuable for the missions we have planned. But technical skills are only part of what we're looking for. "What else do you need to see?" Torres asked. Lena stood and moved to the window, looking out at the ocean while she considered her response. The Southeast Asia program involves missions where teams will operate independently for extended periods without backup or resupply. Success depends not just on technical skills, but on adaptability, resourcefulness, and the ability to think creatively under pressure. She turned back to face Rodriguez and Torres, her expression serious. "Today's range session showed me that your team has the technical foundation we need. But I still need to evaluate how they perform when the conditions become unpredictable and the stakes are raised beyond what they're accustomed to facing." Rodriguez felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension at the prospect of his team being considered for high-level special operations missions. "What kind of evaluation did you have in mind?" Lena returned to her seat and opened a folder she had brought with her, revealing documents that had been classified at levels requiring special handling procedures. "Tomorrow morning, if you're willing, I'd like to conduct a field exercise that will test your team's capabilities under conditions that more closely simulate the operational environment they would face in Southeast Asia." She spread out maps and mission parameters that immediately capture the attention of both SEALs. The scenarios outlined in the documents were complex, challenging, and unlike anything they had encountered in their standard training programs. These exercises will test everything from individual marksmanship under stress to team coordination during multi-phase operations, Lena explained. The missions are designed to push participants beyond their comfort zones and reveal how they respond when standard procedures don't apply. Rodriguez examined the proposed exercises, noting the sophistication and realism of the scenarios. "You developed these training programs?" "With input from special operations personnel who have experience in similar operational environments," Lena confirmed. "The exercises are based on actual missions, modified to create training scenarios that reveal the specific capabilities we need for the Southeast Asia program." Torres looked up from studying the maps and mission parameters. "Ms. Gray, these exercises look more challenging than anything we've done in our standard training. What happens if we don't perform to your standards?" Lena met his gaze directly. "Then we find another team for the program, and you continue your current assignments. But based on what I observed today, I believe your team has the potential to exceed the standards we've established." The conversation was interrupted by the return of a young petty officer who delivered another message to Master Chief Rodriguez. This communication was even more urgent than the previous one, marked with handling instructions that indicated its importance to senior military leadership. Rodriguez read quickly, his expression growing serious as he processed the information. "Ms. Gray, it seems the timeline for your evaluation has been accelerated. SOCOM wants your assessment within 48 hours. Lena checked her watch, calculating the implications of the compressed schedule. "That means we'll need to conduct the field exercises tomorrow, with evaluation results submitted by the following evening. Can your team be ready for a comprehensive field evaluation by tomorrow morning?" Rodriguez asked Torres. Torres considered the question, thinking about the logistics of preparing his team for exercises they had never seen before, designed by someone whose capabilities they were just beginning to understand. "We'll be ready, Master Chief. What time do we start?" Lena gathered her documents and maps, organizing them into a secure folder. 0500 hours at the advanced training area north of the main base. The exercises will run for 12 hours, with scenarios designed to test individual and team performance under conditions that simulate real-world special operations missions. As she prepared to leave, Lena paused and looked directly at Rodriguez and Torres. "Gentlemen, tomorrow will be unlike anything you've experienced in your training. The scenarios are designed to be challenging, unpredictable, and demanding. Your performance will determine not just whether your team is selected for the Southeast Asia program, but also what role you might play in missions that could have significant impact on national security." Rodriguez stood as Lena prepared to depart. "Ms. Gray, one final question. The shooting demonstration today, the classified background, the authority to evaluate special operations teams. Exactly who are you working for?" Lena smiled for the first time since their conversation had begun, but her answer revealed nothing more than she had already shared. "Tomorrow morning, Master Chief. 0500 hours. Bring your team's best effort, because the people watching the results of these exercises are very interested in what your SEALs can accomplish." The advanced training area north of Coronado Base looked different in the pre-dawn darkness. Shadows from equipment containers and training obstacles created a maze of dark shapes against the lighter sky, while the distant sound of ocean waves provided a constant background rhythm. At exactly 0500 hours, SEAL Team 7 assembled at the designated coordinates, their equipment carefully organized, and their weapons prepared for whatever challenges Lena Gray had planned. Master Chief Rodriguez conducted a final equipment check, ensuring each member of his team carried the gear specified in the mission parameters Lena had provided the evening before. The list had been comprehensive and precise, including standard weapons, specialized communication equipment, and survival gear that suggested they would be operating under realistic field conditions. "Remember, gentlemen, this isn't just an exercise," Rodriguez addressed his team in the quiet tones that carried clearly in the still morning air. "Our performance today determines whether we're selected for a classified program that could define our careers. Ms. Gray isn't just evaluating our technical skills. She's assessing how we think, how we adapt, and how we perform under pressure." Staff Sergeant Torres adjusted his rifle and checked his gear one final time. "Any word on what kind of scenarios we're facing, Master Chief?" "Unknown," Rodriguez replied. Ms. Gray was very clear that the exercises are designed to test our ability to adapt to unexpected situations. Whatever happens today, we handle it professionally and demonstrate why SEAL Team 7 deserves consideration for high-priority assignments. A vehicle approached from the direction of the main base, its headlights cutting through the morning darkness. The engine sound was familiar, but as it drew closer, the SEALs could see that the truck was loaded with equipment they hadn't seen before. Sophisticated electronics, communication gear, and weapon systems that clearly represented cutting-edge military technology. Lena Gray stepped out of the vehicle wearing field gear that immediately caught the attention of the watching SEALs. Her clothing was clearly military-grade, but without insignia or unit markings. Her equipment was professional and functional, organized with the systematic precision that comes from extensive field experience. "Good morning, gentlemen," she said, approaching the assembled team with confident strides. "I trust you're prepared for a challenging day." Rodriguez nodded, speaking for his team. "We're ready, Ms. Gray. What are our mission parameters?" Lena moved to the back of the truck and began unloading equipment, revealing sophisticated electronics and communication systems that the SEALs recognized as advanced versions of gear they had used in actual operations. "Today's exercises consist of 3 phases," she explained, connecting power cables and activating monitoring systems. Each phase is designed to test different aspects of special operations capabilities. Phase 1 evaluates individual skills under stress. Phase 2 tests team coordination during complex multi-objective missions. Phase 3 assesses adaptability when missions change rapidly and standard procedures no longer apply. She handed Rodriguez a sealed envelope containing detailed mission briefings. "You'll receive specific instructions for each phase as we progress. The scenarios are based on actual operations, modified to create training situations that reveal the capabilities we need to assess." Torres watched as Lena completed her equipment setup, noting the sophistication of the monitoring systems she was deploying. "Ms. Gray, this equipment looks like it could track everything we do during the exercises. It will, Lena confirmed without hesitation. Heart rates, movement patterns, communication protocols, decision-making timelines, and accuracy under stress. The data will be analyzed to create comprehensive performance profiles for each team member. Petty Officer Collins exchanged glances with his teammates, suddenly, understanding that their evaluation would be far more detailed and scientific than any training exercise they had previously experienced. Phase 1 begins in 5 minutes, Lena announced, checking her watch and making final adjustments to her monitoring equipment. Staff Sergeant Torres, you'll be first. The scenario involves long-range target elimination under time pressure with multiple complicating factors. Torres stepped forward, his competitive spirit engaged by the prospect of demonstrating his skills under controlled but challenging conditions. What kind of complicating factors? Lena led him to a prepared firing position that offered a clear view of the training area. In the growing daylight, Torres could see targets positioned at various ranges and elevations, some stationary, and others apparently designed to move during the exercise. Your mission is to eliminate 3 high-value targets within a 15-minute window, Lena explained, handing him mission-specific ammunition and equipment. Complicating factors include civilian personnel in the target area, time constraints that require rapid engagement decisions, and intelligence updates that will change your target priorities during the mission. Torres examined the scenario through his rifle scope, identifying the challenges immediately. The targets were positioned among structures that could conceal additional threats or innocent personnel. The ranges varied significantly, requiring different ballistic calculations for each engagement. Most challenging of all, the scenario appeared designed to test his decision-making abilities as much as his marksmanship skills. Understood, Torres replied, settling into his firing position with the practiced efficiency that had made him the team's premier marksman. What's my start signal? Lena activated her monitoring equipment, and Torres could see data displays that would track every aspect of his performance during the exercise. Heart rate, breathing patterns, movement stability, and timing would all be recorded and analyzed. Mission begins now, Lena said simply. Torres immediately began his target analysis, using his scope to identify threats and assess the tactical situation. Through his earpiece, he received intelligence updates that painted a picture of a complex operational environment where quick decisions could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Target 1, confirmed hostile, range 600 meters, came the first update. Civilian personnel reported in the area. Exercise extreme caution. Torres located the target through his scope, but immediately saw the complication. The hostile target was positioned near a structure that could contain innocent people, requiring precise shot placement to eliminate the threat without risking collateral damage. His first shot broke clean, and the target indicator confirmed a successful elimination. But before Torres could celebrate, his earpiece crackled with new intelligence. Target priorities have changed. Target 3 is now highest priority, moving to extraction point. Window for engagement closes in 8 minutes. Torres quickly shifted to locate target 3, finding a moving target that required him to calculate lead time and trajectory adjustments while working under increased time pressure. His training took over, and his second shot eliminated the moving target with precision that impressed even Lena, who was monitoring every aspect of his performance. Target 2, stationary, range 400 meters. Caution, civilian vehicle approaching target area. The final engagement required Torres to wait for the civilian vehicle to clear the danger area before taking a shot, testing his patience and timing under pressure. When the opportunity presented itself, his third shot completed the scenario with the same precision he had demonstrated throughout the exercise. Mission complete, Torres reported, his voice steady despite the intensity of the exercise. Lena checked her monitoring equipment, reviewing data that revealed not just Torres' shooting accuracy, but also his physiological responses to stress, his decision-making patterns, and his ability to adapt to changing tactical situations. Excellent performance, Staff Sergeant, she said, making notes that would become part of his evaluation. Your ability to maintain accuracy while processing changing intelligence and making rapid tactical decisions demonstrates exactly the kind of capabilities we're looking for. The remaining team members completed similar individual exercises, each designed to test different aspects of special operations skills. Petty Officer Collins demonstrated exceptional performance during a close-quarters combat scenario that required split-second decisions about threats and non-combatants. Petty Officer Smith excelled during a reconnaissance exercise that tested his ability to gather intelligence while remaining undetected in hostile territory. By late morning, SEAL Team 7 had completed Phase 1 of their evaluation, and Lena's monitoring equipment had recorded comprehensive data on each team member's individual capabilities. Phase 2 begins now, Lena announced as the team gathered around her command post. This exercise tests team coordination during a complex multi-objective mission. You'll be required to work together to achieve objectives that cannot be accomplished by individual effort alone. She spread out maps and mission parameters that revealed a scenario significantly more complex than anything they had faced during Phase 1. Multiple objectives scattered across several square kilometers of training area, time constraints that required careful coordination, and complicating factors that would test their ability to function as an integrated team. Your mission involves simultaneous operations at 3 different locations, Lena explained. Intelligence gathering at Location Alpha, target elimination at Location Bravo, and equipment recovery at Location Charlie. The objectives must be completed within a 2-hour window, and success at each location depends on support from team members at the other locations. Master Chief Rodriguez studied the mission parameters, immediately recognizing the complexity of the coordination required. Communication protocols? Standard tactical radio procedures, but with realistic limitations, Lena replied. Signal interference, equipment malfunctions, and operational security requirements will restrict your ability to communicate during critical phases of the mission. Torres examined the maps, noting the distances between objectives and the tactical challenges each location presented. This is going to require careful planning and perfect execution. That's exactly what we're testing, Lena confirmed. Special operations missions rarely proceed according to plan. Your team's ability to adapt to unexpected developments while maintaining coordination and achieving objectives is exactly what we need to assess. The team spent 30 minutes developing their operational plan, dividing responsibilities, and establishing contingency procedures for various scenarios they might encounter. Rodriguez assigned Torres and Collins to the target elimination mission at Location Bravo, while he and Smith would handle intelligence gathering and equipment recovery at the other locations. Remember, gentlemen, this exercise is being monitored by people who could determine our next assignment, Rodriguez reminded his team as they prepared to begin Phase 2. Demonstrate the professionalism and capability that defines SEAL Team 7. Phase 2 proved to be everything Lena had promised, and more. The team faced equipment malfunctions that required field repairs, intelligence updates that changed their tactical approach, and coordination challenges that tested their ability to support each other while operating at separate locations. Torres and Collins successfully eliminated their targets at Location Bravo, but only after adapting their approach when their planned route was blocked by simulated enemy patrols. Rodriguez and Smith completed their intelligence gathering mission despite communication equipment that failed at a critical moment, requiring them to rely on backup procedures and improvise solutions. The equipment recovery at Location Charlie proved to be the most challenging objective, requiring the entire team to converge and work together to extract sensitive materials under simulated enemy fire. Their success depended on precise timing, coordinated movements, and the kind of seamless teamwork that takes years to develop. Mission complete, Rodriguez reported as the team finished extracting the simulated sensitive equipment. All objectives achieved within the specified time window. Lena reviewed her monitoring data, noting not just the team's technical performance, but also their communication patterns, stress responses, and adaptation strategies when faced with unexpected complications. Outstanding performance during Phase 2, she said, her professional approval evident in her tone. Your team demonstrated the kind of coordination and adaptability that's essential for the missions we have planned. As the afternoon wore on, SEAL Team 7 prepared for the final phase of their evaluation, wondering what additional challenges Lena Gray had designed to test capabilities they hadn't even realized would be evaluated. Phase 3 will begin in 1 hour, Lena announced. This final exercise is designed to test your team's performance when everything goes wrong simultaneously. Equipment failures, changing mission parameters, and unexpected threats that require creative solutions and exceptional teamwork. Rodriguez gathered his team for a brief planning session, knowing that their performance during the final phase would determine whether SEAL Team 7 would be selected for the classified Southeast Asia program that could define their careers for years to come. The final phase of evaluation began as storm clouds gathered over the Coronado training area, casting shadows that turned the familiar landscape into something more ominous and unpredictable. Lena Gray stood beside her monitoring equipment, watching as SEAL Team 7 prepared for an exercise that would test everything they had learned about working together under impossible conditions. Gentlemen, Phase 3 represents the kind of mission where Murphy's Law isn't just a possibility, it's a guarantee, Lena began, her tone serious as she outlined the scenario that would determine their team's future. Equipment will fail at critical moments, intelligence will prove unreliable, and your ability to adapt and overcome will be tested beyond anything you've experienced in standard training. Master Chief Rodriguez listened intently as Lena described a scenario that seemed designed to challenge every aspect of special operations capabilities. A high-value target extraction mission in hostile territory, with multiple extraction points, changing weather conditions, and a timeline that would require flawless execution under pressure. Your target is a deep-cover intelligence asset whose location has been compromised, Lena explained, pointing to maps that showed a complex operational area with multiple potential threats and obstacles. Extraction must be completed within 90 minutes, but complicating factors will emerge throughout the mission that will test your ability to think creatively and work together under extreme pressure. Staff Sergeant Torres studied the mission parameters, noting immediately that the scenario was designed with built-in complications that would require the team to abandon standard procedures and develop innovative solutions. What kind of complicating factors are we talking about? Torres asked. Lena activated her monitoring systems, and the SEALs could see that this exercise included even more sophisticated tracking and analysis equipment than the previous phases. Every aspect of their performance would be recorded, analyzed, and evaluated by people whose decisions could determine their careers. Equipment failures that simulate real-world malfunctions, intelligence updates that require rapid changes in tactical approach, and enemy forces that adapt to your movements and tactics, Lena replied. The scenario is designed to present challenges that have no textbook solutions. Petty Officer Collins examined the communications equipment he had been assigned, noting that some of the gear appeared to have been deliberately modified to introduce potential failure points during the exercise. Our communication systems look like they might not be entirely reliable, Collins observed. They won't be, Lena confirmed. Field communication equipment fails regularly during actual operations. Your team's ability to maintain coordination and complete objectives when communication systems are compromised is exactly what we need to assess. The exercise began with a scenario briefing that painted a picture of a rapidly deteriorating situation. Their intelligence asset was trapped in a compound surrounded by hostile forces, with multiple extraction routes that each presented different tactical challenges and risks. Primary extraction point is compromised, came the first intelligence update before the team had even reached their insertion point. Recommend shifting to secondary extraction coordinates, but be advised that route involves additional complications. Rodriguez immediately began adapting their tactical plan, but before he could complete his adjustments, another update crackled through their communication system. Secondary extraction point also showing enemy activity. Intelligence asset reports that hostile forces are using sophisticated tracking equipment. Standard evasion procedures may not be effective. Torres exchanged glances with his teammates, realizing that the exercise was designed to force them into situations where standard special operations procedures would not be sufficient. They would need to think creatively and work together in ways that went beyond their usual training. As the team moved toward their target area, Their equipment began experiencing the kind of failures that Lena had warned them to expect. Collins's primary radio malfunctioned, requiring him to switch to backup communication systems that had limited range and reliability. Smith's night vision equipment failed completely, forcing him to rely on natural light and the support of his teammates. This is exactly what happens during real operations, Rodriguez told his team as they adapted to the equipment failures. We use our training, we support each other, and we complete the mission regardless of what goes wrong. The intelligence asset's location turned out to be in the center of a compound that presented multiple tactical challenges. Enemy patrols moved in patterns that required the team to time their movements with precision, while surveillance equipment forced them to use approaches that hadn't been part of their original plan. Target location confirmed, but extraction is going to be more complicated than anticipated, Torres reported as he observed the compound through his rifle scope. Heavy security, multiple patrol patterns, and surveillance coverage that makes standard approaches impossible. Before Rodriguez could respond, their communications system delivered another complication that tested their ability to adapt under pressure. Intelligence asset reports that extraction timeline has been shortened. Hostile reinforcements approaching target area. Extraction must be completed within 30 minutes or mission will be compromised. The shortened timeline forced SEAL Team 7 to abandon their careful approach and develop a more aggressive plan that required perfect coordination and split-second timing. Rodriguez divided his team into two elements, with Torres and Collins providing overwatch and suppressive fire while he and Smith moved to extract the intelligence asset. As they began their approach to the compound, the exercise presented them with the kind of unexpected complication that separates good special operations teams from exceptional ones. Their intelligence assets location changed at the last moment, forcing them to adapt their entire plan while under simulated enemy fire. Target has moved to Building 3. Repeat, Building 3, came the update through their failing communication system. Previous intelligence was incorrect due to enemy deception operations. Torres and Collins quickly shifted their overwatch position to support the new extraction point, but the movement left them exposed to enemy surveillance systems that Lena had positioned throughout the training area. They had to use terrain features and timing to avoid detection while maintaining their ability to provide cover for their teammates. Rodriguez and Smith reached the new target building only to discover that the intelligence asset was injured and unable to move quickly. The scenario required them to provide medical assistance while under fire, testing their ability to perform complex tasks under extreme pressure. Asset is mobile, but requires assistance, Rodriguez reported. Recommend immediate extraction, but route to extraction point is compromised. The team was forced to develop an entirely new extraction plan in real time, using their knowledge of the terrain and their understanding of enemy movements to create a route that hadn't existed in any of their pre-mission planning. Collins identified a path that would keep them away from the heaviest enemy concentrations, while Torres used his marksmanship skills to eliminate threats that could compromise their movement. As they began moving toward the extraction point, the exercise presented its most challenging complication yet. The primary extraction vehicle experienced mechanical failure, forcing the team to reach a secondary extraction point that was significantly farther away and required them to move through heavily monitored terrain. Primary extraction is down, came the announcement through their radio system. Secondary extraction available, but location requires movement through enemy territory with limited cover. The team had to carry their injured intelligence asset across difficult terrain while avoiding enemy patrols and surveillance systems. The physical demands of the exercise were significant, but the mental challenges of maintaining coordination and adapting to constantly changing conditions proved even more taxing. Torres provided rear security as the team moved, using his rifle to eliminate threats that emerged behind them while maintaining awareness of the overall tactical situation. Collins took point, using his navigation skills to find routes that minimized their exposure to enemy detection while still allowing them to reach the extraction point within a shortened timeline. Smith assisted Rodriguez in caring for the injured intelligence asset, demonstrating the kind of medical skills that special operations personnel must maintain alongside their combat capabilities. Together, they ensured that their simulated casualty remained stable while under fire and during movement through challenging terrain. The secondary extraction point turned out to be defended by enemy forces that required the team to conduct a complex assault operation while protecting their injured intelligence asset. The scenario tested their ability to transition seamlessly from evasion and movement to direct action, maintaining their coordination and effectiveness throughout. Enemy forces at extraction point, Torres reported as he observed the target area through his scope. Multiple hostiles prepared positions, overlapping fields of fire. Rodriguez assessed the situation quickly, developing a plan that would allow them to neutralize the enemy positions while protecting their injured asset and reaching the extraction vehicle before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Collins and Smith flank left and establish suppressive fire positions. Torres, overwatch from current location. I'll move with the asset to the extraction vehicle once you've suppressed enemy positions. The assault on the extraction point required every aspect of their training and teamwork. Collins and Smith moved into flanking positions with the stealth and precision that characterized elite special operations personnel, while Torres provided accurate suppressive fire that kept enemy forces pinned in their positions. Rodriguez moved with the injured intelligence asset toward the extraction vehicle, using the cover provided by his teammates to reach safety while maintaining protective oversight of their simulated casualty. The coordination required was complex and demanding, testing their ability to work together flawlessly under extreme pressure. The exercise concluded as the extraction vehicle departed with the intelligence asset safely aboard. But Lena's evaluation continued as she reviewed the comprehensive data her monitoring systems had collected throughout the 90-minute scenario. Mission complete, Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the physical and mental demands of the exercise. Intelligence assets successfully extracted, all team members accounted for. Lena spent several minutes reviewing the data her systems had collected, analyzing not just the team's technical performance, but also their adaptation strategies, stress responses, and coordination patterns when faced with multiple simultaneous challenges. "Gentlemen, what I observed during Phase 3 was exceptional," she said finally, her professional approval evident in her tone. "Your team demonstrated the kind of adaptability, creativity, and seamless coordination that defines the very best special operations units." The SEAL team gathered around as Lena prepared to deliver her assessment, knowing that her evaluation would determine whether they would be selected for the classified Southeast Asia program that represented the pinnacle of special operations assignments. "Your performance during all 3 phases exceeded the standards we established for selection," Lena continued. "Individual technical skills, team coordination, and adaptability under pressure all demonstrated capabilities that match the requirements for our most demanding missions." Rodriguez felt a mixture of pride and anticipation as he listened to Lena's assessment. "Ms. Gray, does that mean SEAL Team 7 has been selected for the Southeast Asia program?" Lena gathered her evaluation materials and monitoring equipment, organizing the data that would be transmitted to decision-makers at the highest levels of Special Operations Command. "Master Chief Rodriguez, your team will receive official notification within 24 hours, but I can tell you that my recommendation will be strongly positive," she replied. "The capabilities you demonstrated today are exactly what we need for missions that will have significant impact on national security objectives." As the evaluation concluded and SEAL Team 7 prepared to return to their regular duties, Torres approached Lena with a question that had been building throughout their day of testing. "Ms. Gray, the exercises today were unlike anything we've experienced in our standard training. The scenarios, the equipment, the level of realism, this was designed by someone with extensive operational experience. What's your real background?" Lena paused in her equipment packing, considering how to respond to a question that touched on information she hadn't been authorized to reveal. The secure conference room at SOCOM headquarters in Tampa was filled with tension as senior military leaders reviewed the comprehensive evaluation reports that Lena Gray had submitted following her assessment of SEAL Team 7. Admiral Richardson, commander of Special Operations Command, studied the data with the careful attention that major personnel decisions required, while his staff analyzed performance metrics that would determine the future of both the Southeast Asia program and the careers of the men who had been evaluated. These performance numbers are exceptional, Colonel Martinez observed, reviewing marksmanship scores and tactical assessments that place SEAL Team 7 among the top special operations units in the military. Every metric shows capabilities well above the standards we established for program selection. Their ability to develop innovative solutions when standard procedures proved inadequate shows the mental flexibility that's essential for the operations we have planned. 3,000 miles away, at Coronado Base, Master Chief Rodriguez was conducting a team meeting with SEAL Team 7, trying to manage the anticipation and uncertainty that came with waiting for official notification about their selection for the classified program. Gentlemen, regardless of whether we're selected for the Southeast Asia assignment, yesterday's evaluation demonstrated that we're capable of performing at the highest levels, Rodriguez addressed his team. The exercises Ms. Gray designed were more challenging and realistic than anything we've experienced, and we met every challenge successfully. Staff Sergeant Torres remained focused on questions about Lena Gray herself, puzzled by inconsistencies between her stated background and the sophisticated evaluation program she had designed and conducted. Master Chief, something about Ms. Gray doesn't add up, Torres said, expressing concerns that had been building since their first meeting. The shooting demonstration, the detailed knowledge of special operations procedures, the authority to evaluate teams for classified programs. That's not the background of a typical defense contractor. Petty Officer Collins agreed with Torres' assessment. The exercises she designed were too realistic, too specific to actual operational challenges. Someone with just engineering background and civilian contracting experience couldn't have created scenarios that detailed and accurate. Rodriguez had been thinking about the same issues since the evaluation concluded. You're both right that Ms. Gray's capabilities suggest a background more extensive than she initially disclosed. But her authority to conduct our evaluation came directly from SOCOM headquarters, which means someone at very high levels trusts her assessment capabilities. Their discussion was interrupted by a secure communication from SOCOM headquarters, marked with handling instructions that indicated its importance to senior leadership. Rodriguez opened the message and read quickly, his expression showing both surprise and satisfaction as he processed the information. Gentlemen, we've been officially selected for the Southeast Asia program, he announced to his team. Deployment begins in 4 weeks, with 2 weeks of specialized training before we begin actual operations. The team erupted in congratulations and expressions of satisfaction at being chosen for an assignment that represented the pinnacle of special operations work. But Rodriguez continued reading the message, finding additional information that added new dimensions to their understanding of the program they had been selected to join. There's more, he said, his tone becoming more serious as he read further. Our primary operational partner for the Southeast Asia missions will be Advanced Weapons Systems contractor Lena Gray, who will be providing ongoing support for equipment, intelligence, and tactical planning throughout our deployment. Torres felt his puzzlement about Lena's background intensify with this new information. She's going to be deployed with us? That's not standard procedure for civilian contractors. According to this message, MS. Gray has been assigned to the Southeast Asia program in a specialized support role that requires her to work directly with special operations teams in the field, Rodriguez explained. Her technical expertise and operational experience make her uniquely qualified for missions that involve both equipment testing and tactical support. Meanwhile, in a secure facility outside Washington, D.C., Lena Gray was participating in a briefing that revealed the true scope and importance of the Southeast Asia program that SEAL Team 7 had been selected to join. The room was filled with senior intelligence officials, military leaders, and civilian personnel whose combined expertise represented decades of experience in the most sensitive national security operations. The Southeast Asia program involves more than just counterterrorism operations, briefed Director Harrison from the CIA's Special Activities Division. We're dealing with sophisticated adversaries who have access to advanced technology and extensive resources. The teams we deploy must be capable of adapting to threats that go well beyond traditional special operations scenarios. Lena listened as the briefing outlined mission parameters that explained why the evaluation exercises she had designed were so challenging and realistic. The adversaries they would face in Southeast Asia were using tactics and technology that required special operations teams to perform at levels that exceeded standard training and preparation. Ms. Gray, your role in this program extends beyond equipment support, continued Director Harrison. Your operational background and technical expertise make you our primary link between the special operations teams and the intelligence community. You'll be responsible for ensuring that teams in the field have access to the most current intelligence and the most effective equipment available. General Thompson from the Joint Special Operations Command added details that put Lena's involvement in the program into clearer perspective. The adversaries we're facing have demonstrated capabilities that require us to deploy our most experienced personnel. Ms. Gray's combination of field experience and technical knowledge represents exactly the kind of expertise we need for missions where traditional approaches may not be sufficient. Back at Coronado Base, SEAL Team 7 was receiving additional briefing materials that provided more context about the missions they would be conducting and the unique nature of their partnership with Lena Gray. According to these briefings, Ms. Gray will be embedded with our team throughout our deployment, Rodriguez explained as he reviewed classified documents that outlined their operational structure. She'll be providing real-time intelligence analysis, equipment support, and tactical consultation during missions. Collins studied the briefing materials, noting references to threats and challenges that went beyond anything they had encountered in their previous deployments. Master Chief, these mission descriptions suggest we're going to be dealing with adversaries who have capabilities we haven't trained against before. That's why the evaluation exercises were so important, Rodriguez replied. Ms. Gray needed to assess our ability to adapt and think creatively when faced with unexpected challenges. The missions we'll be conducting require teams that can develop innovative solutions when standard procedures prove inadequate. Torres remained focused on understanding Lena's true background and qualifications. If she's going to be deployed with us in the field, she must have more operational experience than she initially disclosed. Civilian contractors don't get assigned to direct support roles with special operations teams unless they have extensive field experience. Their discussion was interrupted by another secure communication, this one from Lena Gray herself. The message contained detailed information about their upcoming training program and deployment schedule, along with technical specifications for new equipment they would be using during their Southeast Asia missions. Gentlemen, our training begins in 2 weeks at a facility in Nevada that specializes in advanced special operations preparation, Rodriguez read from Lena's message. The training will include familiarization with new equipment, tactical scenarios specific to our Southeast Asia missions, and coordination exercises with support personnel. The message also included a personal note from Lena that addressed some of the questions the team had been discussing about her background and qualifications. Staff Sergeant Torres and team, I understand your curiosity about my background and experience. During our upcoming training, I'll be able to provide more complete information about my qualifications and the nature of my role in the Southeast Asia program. What I can tell you now is that my involvement in special operations goes back much further than my work with advanced weapon systems. Torres showed the message to his teammates, noting that Lena's willingness to provide more information suggested that their operational partnership would involve a level of trust and transparency that hadn't been possible during their initial evaluation. She's going to tell us her real story during training, Torres observed, which means her actual background is probably even more interesting than what we've already discovered. 2 weeks later, at the classified training facility in Nevada, SEAL Team 7 found themselves in an environment unlike any military installation they had previously experienced. The facility contained sophisticated simulation systems, advanced weapons testing ranges, and training scenarios that could replicate operational conditions from anywhere in the world. Lena Gray met them at the facility entrance, wearing military-style clothing that was clearly more appropriate for her actual role than the civilian contractor attire she had worn during their initial evaluation. Her bearing and confidence suggested someone entirely comfortable in special operations environments. "Welcome to the Advanced Special Operations Training Center," she said, leading them into a facility that represented the cutting edge of military preparation and planning. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll be conducting training that will prepare you for missions unlike anything you've experienced in your previous deployments. As they toured the facility, the SEALs could see training areas designed to replicate specific geographical and tactical environments from the Southeast Asia region where they would be operating. The level of detail and realism was extraordinary, suggesting that significant resources have been invested in preparing teams for the missions they would be conducting. Ms. Gray, Torres said as they completed their facility tour, "I think it's time you told us who you really are and what kind of background qualifies you for this level of operational involvement." Lena stopped in front of a wall display that contained unit photographs and commendations from special operations units spanning several decades of military history. Among the photographs was one that immediately caught the attention of SEAL Team 7. The photograph showed a special operations team in an unidentified location, wearing gear and equipment that suggested recent deployment in hostile territory. In the center of the group stood a figure they recognized immediately, despite the tactical gear and desert camouflage that partially obscured her features. "Gentlemen," Lena said, turning to face SEAL Team 7 with an expression that revealed both professional pride and personal satisfaction. "My name is Lena Gray, and I'm a former member of the Army's Delta Force. I've conducted classified operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and a dozen other countries that don't appear in any official records. My work with advanced weapon systems is a cover assignment that allows me to maintain my operational involvement without drawing attention to activities that require complete secrecy." The revelation explained everything the SEALs had observed about Lena's capabilities, from her exceptional marksmanship demonstration to her sophisticated understanding of special operations procedures and challenges. "The Southeast Asia program isn't just another deployment," Lena continued. "It's a classified operation targeting adversaries who represent serious threats to national security. Your team was selected not just because of your technical skills, but because of your ability to work with unconventional support personnel and adapt to operational requirements that go beyond standard special operations missions." Rodriguez felt the pieces of the puzzle finally falling into place. The evaluation exercises, the equipment testing, the authority to select teams for classified programs. You weren't just assessing our capabilities. You were determining whether we could work effectively with someone whose background and methods might be different from what we're accustomed to. "Exactly," Lena confirmed. "The missions we'll be conducting require close coordination between special operations teams and intelligence personnel with extensive field experience. Success depends on trust, communication, and the ability to work together seamlessly under conditions that will test everything we've learned about special operations." As SEAL Team 7 began their advanced training with their new operational partner, they understood that they were embarking on missions that would challenge not just their technical skills and tactical abilities, but also their capacity to work with personnel whose backgrounds and capabilities extended far beyond anything they had previously encountered. The story of Lena Gray had revealed itself as the story of a warrior whose single shot had demonstrated capabilities that challenged every assumption about what it means to be an elite operator. For SEAL Team 7, working with her represented an opportunity to participate in missions at the very highest levels of special operations, where success would depend on their ability to perform flawlessly alongside the most exceptional personnel in the military.